Hello everybody, welcome back to another video with Kat about Raid Shadow Legends. Today we're going to go over the details for update 11.00.0. It's update 11. We're getting some more information and more details about Grim Forest and the way it's going to work and some of the bosses, so we're going to go through that in just a second. Before we get into it, use the link in my description to get started with Raid Shadow Legends. Instantly, you're going to get Thol and Foulbeard, who would probably be very helpful here. Hugo, who I also think is going to be really helpful when it comes to Grim Forest. Ruella, you get at level 20. And Rector Drath at level 30. And don't forget to use the promo code Monkey King to get your other legendary Sun Wukong. And then log in for 7 days and get the Xenomorph from the Alien and Predator event that is still going on in game. I believe the login calendar is going to be active until about January 7th. Editor Kat's going to put it in the description if it's different. So we still have about a month. Don't forget you get a perfect soul with all of that too. So you want to have that extra time to get her going, all that good stuff. Also really quick, it looks like we have a new promo code today that is AMG25. And it looks like Epic Tome, some multi-battles, go away, and some energy. So, new promo code too, yay. All right, now let's talk about the updates. The update highlights came out earlier this morning. So there's a couple things that I want to touch on as we go through it. So Grim Forest is now going to be available to players level 75 and above. And from what I can see, it looks like it's going to be a feature that's geared more towards later game players versus somebody like me. I mean, obviously I'm going to play with it, but I don't think I'm going to make it that far based on what I've seen so far. I'm actually curious to see how far I can make it. Then again, we also know Hydra unlocks at level 40, and it took me so long to get through that. So just because it unlocks at level 55 does not mean that it's going to be easy or super accessible to players at level 55, unless you're a whale or unless you get good. Like the Doom Tower, Cursed City, Grim Forest is going to work on a monthly rotation. All progress gets wiped. Journey begins anew. But the difference is the Grim Forest map is not going to stay the same. And remember, this is kind of you start at a little base camp and you work your way out. There's it's the choose your own adventure style, and there's a fog that prevents you from being able to see what's coming up next. So then you kind of just go piece by piece, kind of the same way you would see it in Cursed City, where you can kind of branch off and go in other directions, except the difference is you don't know what you're going to get when you move in certain directions. And we're going to talk about some of the things that you might encounter as you work through. Some of this I've already covered in a video, so I'm not going to go into it in big detail. Plus, if you want to read this for yourself, I'm going to have this highlights page linked in the description so you can go into more detail. So you basically have 2 decks of champions to work with, either 2 sets of 10 or 2 sets of 20, depending on the difficulty. You cannot change the champions that are in the deck unless you have a special item. And whenever you enter the battle, this is the part that I wasn't entirely sure about last time when I made a video. When you enter a battle, the game will choose a set number of champions from both decks. So it kind of just takes a random chunk, randomly chooses a bunch of champions from each one, gives you a set team, and then you build the team based on what it gives you. So what I have seen recommended is you should build 1 deck that is damage dealers and 1 deck that is supports. So that way it's kind of evenly distributed and you have a better chance of being able to balance as you're going through. So it looks like the way this is going to work, it's going to have its own special energy, which makes sense, especially since we're comparing it to Doom Tower and Cursed City. Cursed City has its own keys. Doom Tower has the silver and gold keys that you need to advance. And you have a specific amount per day, 30 distorted energy per day, shared across both difficulties, and there's no refills. And then the leftover doesn't carry over. Again, similar to Cursed City and Doom Tower. So the way the stages work is there's a bunch of different types. Some of them might be empty stages, but they could have an enemy ambush. So it looks like some of the other stages have the Grim Charms, which will unlock a treasure hunt chest. Some of them will involve waves of enemies, a big boss tier champion, a mythical foe. Sometimes if you're finding the Grim chests, they might be the Mimic, which apparently, and we've talked about the Mimic before, but then Boomer and I were at Walmart, of all places, and I saw this ornament, and I was like, wait, that's the Mimic from Raid Shadow Legends. Is this a Raid Shadow Legend? No, this is a Dungeons & Dragons thing. Apparently, This whole this whole thing is very much inspired by or is a collaboration with Dungeons and Dragons, which it has been a long time since I played Dungeons and Dragons. I was in college. I was a teenager when I still back when I played this, and I'm 30 now, so you know that was a long time ago. I do want to talk about one of these bosses here, Phrygius, I think is how we're going to say his name. The Trove Master. He's a goblin kind of guy. So he's kind of like the he's like our clan boss in this game mode where you're basically just want to deal as much damage as possible to him. You have a limited number of turns and then he runs. Kind of like Chimera, but the more damage you dish out, the more Grim Gold and Grim Coins you get at the end of each encounter. And you can spend that at the vendor where you can get items that are useful, curios, which we'll talk about in a second. There's a lot of, so you can use that as a way to boost yourself along and improve the champions that you currently have. They have a bunch of kits for several of the bosses. They all look really cool, but he's going to be one that we encounter quite often from what I understand. So I do want to focus on him, and he's very useful. One that you're going to want to focus on because you're going to be one of your means of improving your champions as you go through. The main way he works is we've got a new buff here called Gold Plated. The main way you do damage to him is going through these gold plated stacks. He starts with 5 of them, and each layer is equal to 10% of his max HP. Whenever that layer destroys, it deals damage to him to 10% of his max HP. But here's the catch. Also deals damage to his enemies equal to 5% of that layer value. So you are getting 5% of 10% of his max HP. Now that doesn't sound like a lot, but if you get through several layers of the gold plated at one time, it is a ton of damage on your team, and it's just to everybody all at once. So from what I've seen in a couple content creators when they're covering this is you get through the gold plated layer, which is what you're trying to do, but then he just wipes or does a ton of damage to your team. It's really important to bring in some of your major healers, major champions that can resist, full team revive, those kind of champions, especially because he also has a passive, and a lot of these bosses have the passive where it decreases the damage inflicted for each awakening level on the target champion. And champions with high awakenings also increase their damage on the boss. So you're absolutely going to want to bring in your high red star champions, the highest perfect souls you can bring in. I'll be bringing in my Duchess Lilitu. I'm probably going to bring in Loki. People are saying Lemonisi is going to be really helpful here, so you're going to want to lean on that. There is a lot of complicated stuff going on. If you want to read this in more detail, again, the link is going to be in the description, but this guy is wacky, super, super strange. So let's talk about the curios, which we mentioned up here. Curios are a mechanic that are basically like a relic, but they affect all champions in the squad. So basically every champion that you use in each battle gets these bonus effects, which is helpful. And then also, as you get each victory and open a chest, you get little experience for the game mode itself. And that increases your squad progress level. That also allows you to boost their stats. So there's a lot of complicated mechanics going on here. So you don't have to just rely on your champion's stats. There are means within the game mode itself for you to boost your champions, give them boons that will help them do better as you're going along. So there's a lot happening. And then there's a bunch of rewards. Some of those you can use outside of the game mode, such as the Mercurial set, which is the new artifact and accessory set that's coming to the game. HP resistance and speed. Love that. I also really love the design on this. These are really cool. Very Poison Ivy, Little Shop of Horrors kind of vibe going on. But there's also Total Guard stacks, which I believe is going to be another new buff coming to the game. A single stack prevents an instance of damage or negative effects that targets the wearer. So this is geared towards arena. Unfortunately, it's going to be resisted by all bosses, but it's good for waves. It could be good for it could also be useful in other game modes wherever you have waves. So Doom Tower, Curse City, probably even Siege, but mainly for Arena. At least that's what they say. So it basically is just one instance of block damage or a negative effect. You need to have all 9 pieces in order to have those 3 total guard stacks. So it's going to basically block one chunk of damage, and then that's it. And then you're also going to find champion fragments to summon Anaxia the Reborn, the mythical champion. I did a video about her that'll appear up in the corner. Plus, there's a couple other miscellaneous bits that come in with the update. My favorite part is that artifact and accessory storage is going to be increased by 400 slots each. Thank God, because I'm running out of artifact and accessory storage, and I keep having to sell good artifacts, and I'm annoyed. So we're going to have a little bit more artifact and accessory storage. I think that increases both of them up to 2,000. We're going to get decorations for your Bastion. Yay, happy holidays. Cool stuff. So that's basically everything. There's a couple champion rebalances, but neither of them I have. Sir Nicholas is cool. Yay, Santa's getting fixed. So that's pretty much everything we have. Let me know what you think down in the comments below. I'm looking forward to doing Grim Forest. I don't know how much I'm going to be covering of it because I've been in early labor for like a week and I'm exhausted, and we're getting the baby out and I'm done. So you're probably going to see a little bit less of me for the next few weeks, month or so, but hang tight. I will come back. I will start doing stuff again. I'm looking forward to playing this game mode and trying it out, so we'll see how that goes. Or you're just going to have videos of me where I'm barely awake and loopy as hell and in the newborn trenches, so maybe that'll be extra fun. So that's everything. That's everything I have. If you haven't already, use the link in my description. Get yourself Dolan Foulbeard plus 3 lovely ladies, Yugo, Ruella, and Rector Draft, all of which come into your account automatically, and then use the promo code Monkey King to get the legendary Sun Wukong, and then get your last legendary Xenomorph by logging in for 7 days. So that's everything I have. Thank you guys again for being here, and I will see you in the next video.